Hello, everyone, and welcome to the ninth edition of the European Film Festival in South Africa. My name is Benzi Mhlongo, and I have the privilege and the honor to be moderating this Q&A session with the director of Do Not Hesitate, Sharif Kofa, who will be talking with us this evening about his lovely film. Welcome, Sharif.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Super. Thank you so much for accepting this invitation. So without any further ado, I'd like you just to kick us off with just introducing the film. What would our South African audience expect going forward?
Yeah, so Do Not Hesitate is a suspenseful drama about young soldiers being deployed to a war zone and actually the encounter between them and a local boy. That will be the very short version of it. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So what inspired you to make this film, Sharif?
So the inspiration for the film came actually from a newspaper article. And the newspaper article was about what happened to Dutch young soldiers after they went to Afghanistan for 5 months. They were sent to Greece to a party place to spend 2 days to blow off some steam before going home. So basically, during the day they had like a therapy session, and during the night they were allowed to go out and party and drink. And they were misbehaving so badly that it made the news. And somehow I read that article, and that inspired me to do more research about being young and in the military, because that's what the film is actually about. And that was about 10 years ago. So we spent a couple of years doing first the research, and then 5 years. My screenwriter Jolijn Laarman, she spent 5 years writing the script.
Oh wow, 5 years. Tell us about that process. How did you guys connect, and how did you really unpack the going forward of the film?
Yeah, so we spent 5 years because, I mean, the hard thing about researching a film about a war zone is that we were not able to go there. So our sources were interviewing veterans that had been there and talk about their experiences, which makes it harder because everybody has like a unique view and experience about their deployment. And so we had to do a lot of research. And while doing research, you learn so many interesting things about how complicated it is. I mean, let's not even talk about war, but the whole operation about going there and the different ranks and levels. And I think in the first version of the draft, we tried to put everything in it, just everything. And you cannot explain war in 90 minutes. There's no way. So we wrote that draft, spent a couple of years on that to realize that we had to go back to the core and go back to the reason we started the film, and that's actually the young soldiers. And at this point, not only the young soldiers, but also the young local boy, because at the end, that the whole film revolves around that encounter. Three white Dutch soldiers and a local Arab boy. In the film, we never say which country it is. The actor that plays him, he's from Syria.
Cool. I mean, you spoke about the core and the sort of research that you conducted, and you mentioned that you spoke to veterans. Did you speak to young soldiers who had been, drafted and sort of came out? What sort of feedback did you get from them, and how it inspired the film?
Yeah, so we spoke to a bunch of soldiers, young soldiers as well. And well, the thing is that in Holland you don't get drafted, so it's your own choice to join the military. And the military, they try to make it very attractive for young kids to join. They do great like commercials on TV and campaigns. And I mean, the thing is that if you have affinity with sports and technique, and you want to make money and while you're young, and maybe you want to have like a break of 2 years, right? Because it's a minimum of 2 years that you got to do it. It's a great opportunity to learn stuff and sort of in a classic way say man up, right? I mean, like get fit and I mean, maybe you can say it's an old-fashioned dream for boys to have a gun and a uniform and be strong and be part of a group. And somehow, obviously, the best thing that can happen, or actually the cherry on top, is being deployed to a war zone. I mean, like to have actually go abroad, right? Because you can join the military and spend 2 years training for nothing, and you'll never see an actual war zone. And Holland, the Netherlands had a big participation in Afghanistan, and this is like the beginning of 2000 up to 2010. I think they spent like 5 to 7 years over there. And there's another thing that's important to point out is that the Netherlands were always part of a peace mission. So they were not there to fight the enemy, but they're actually there to offer aid and to the local people and help actually rebuild the country, which makes it actually even more interesting if you to come to think about it, that you go to a country to help, but you do go with your uniform and guns. Which sort of sends a double message, right? Especially if you're young. And that, I mean, I keep repeating the fact that they're young because that's an important thing to mention, because the film only follows the perspective of the young soldiers, and we only know about what their experience is, what they know. So we don't know what they don't tell them, because that's the thing. If you're in a higher level in the military, obviously you have certain skills and education and life experience to know more about the whole thing. But when you're young, you don't know the whole thing. You just know that very little you need to know to go there, and that made it for us fascinating to make a film about.
Talking about perspectives, you know, the film, most of the film is shot in one location. One would imagine that would be easy to shoot, but I guess not, just with my little knowledge. How did you pull off trying to shoot in one location and still trying to captivate the audience and immerse them into those scenes and locations?
Yeah, that's a good one. Well, actually, the placing almost the whole film in one location is something that we did during script development. Obviously, we actually found this in research, that if one of their vehicles break down and it's safe enough to guard it, you'll never leave it behind, because it's too expensive to leave it behind, and you don't want it to fall into enemy's hands. So you're always going to guard it, and you might spend a couple of days camping to guard it until you're able to salvage it. And that gave us actually a great restriction, because that placed the film on one location, and that gave us actually almost like a theater play in a way. Like, I mean, everything is there. They're stuck in the middle of nowhere with this young boy. And in terms of shooting there, it was actually quite unique. I've never had that before, that like shooting so much in one location. And we shot the film in Greece. We ended up finding the locations in Greece, which is a coincidence, because the original article about the soldiers being on the party island was actually on the same island we shot, which is a coincidence. And yeah, I mean, it had to be that way. And in a way for us, shooting this film, you could say it's a little bit similar to a soldier being deployed, because we would stay at our hotel halfway the mountain in a little village, and then in the morning early, we all step into our jeeps, and like a convoy, like in the film, we will travel to the locations, which was like 45 minutes up, and then we'll spend the whole day shooting. And at the end of the day, we'll go down the mountain to our hotel, and we did that like for 5 weeks. So that was quite special to actually experience. And the other question you had about it was if you shoot a film in one location, how do you keep it interesting visually? We spent a lot of time planning the shots. I mean, the shots that we were going to make, and the way that we were covering each scene. And we were just very aware of the fact that we need to make it dynamic and not repeat it too much. So make choices. Like and actually also, obviously, you use the script as an inspiration of dramatic what you want to tell, and but try to not repeat too much, and choose how to shoot the film, and not just cover the whole thing.
I mean, I would have never guessed that was Greece. And you really had some beautiful, beautiful shots. In fact, for our viewers, the film did win Best Cinematography at Atlanta Film Festival. Talking about the location, how did you choose Greece out of all the locations?
Yeah, so there's, I mean, one thing was not going to happen, and that's go to Syria or Afghanistan to shoot the film. We know that's not going to be an option, so we need to find another place to double for Warsaw, right? So that we know. So we're going to try and find something in Europe or in North Africa. That was the idea. And then I remember from research one important thing. One of the kids told me, the soldiers told me that when he arrived at Afghanistan and he saw the landscape, he had the feeling that he just landed on Mars. It was so different from anything he had ever seen that he thought, I'm on a different planet. And somehow I remember that, and I said, that's actually quite interesting. So I'm not going to search for a location that is like pretty and beautiful. I'm going to find something that has a certain danger in it, that feels like we're shooting a film like they're landing on the moon or on a different planet. So I always kept that in mind while searching for the location. And for this film, I went to let me see, I went to Croatia, Morocco, Spain, and Greece, and ended up choosing Greece because it fitted the best what I wanted to create with the film.
Wow, that is a lot of research. I mean, when I looked at the landscape, definitely it did look like you could walk into a space suit and you could be in Mars or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now talking about the actual characters, how did you get the protagonists to play this part?
Yeah, so I was very keen on having actors like being physically and the way they talked very similar to real soldiers. And when you're about to start your casting, in like the conversations you got with your casting director about like, are we going to go with like trained actors, or are we going to try and audition non-actors, right? Non-professional actors. And we tried a couple of non-professional actors, but we discovered quite soon that there was too much of an arc in the script for a non-actor to carry. So we needed like good actors, like really good actors. But in this age, like between 18 and 22, the good young actors are either on theater school or just graduated theater school. So they're very sophisticated, they're like intellectual kids with a certain sensibility. They're actually the opposite of kids that join the army. So I knew that I needed some time to firstly find the perfect actor, but then also tell them, if you get this part, I'm going to ask you to transform. And obviously they're young and ambitious, so they all said yes. So I found 3 young actors. They gained between 10 to 15 kilos muscles by eating a lot and working out. And then I hired a military advisor, like a veteran who went to Afghanistan 3 times, and he trained them for weeks in the forest. And they slept in a cabin, and that was like a short version of the training, but like shooting and walking and talking and the whole thing. And after that, I told them to live together for a couple of weeks in an apartment and cook together and sleep in one room together. And because I felt like being in the military is all about creating like a brotherhood with your team, and you sort of feel that even if you hate each other, you love each other, it's a brotherhood. So I wanted to give them the real experience by just putting them in a room together. That was actually, we didn't rehearse the scenes. The rehearsal was them living together and spending the whole time together. And when we went to shoot, basically I gave them one assignment. The moment you walk on set, you're a soldier. I'm not going to direct you how to be a soldier because I'm not the expert. You are going to be a soldier, and I'm going to direct your acting. And we had our military advisor on set every day for them. If they had any doubt or any question, he would be there and help them out.
Wow, that's real commitment from your actors.
Yeah.
To any ambitious young actors listening out there, that's the hard work that you need to put in. You mentioned brotherhood, and it was really fascinating relationship between the 3 soldiers. But what really got me captivated was the relationship with the young Arab boy. I'm going to call him Boy X, and Eric. So I mean, the relationship was so delicate, but it took a complete different twist and turn, which I wasn't really anticipating. What message were you trying to convey? Just for some context, I saw Eric moving from a good relationship with his fellow colleagues, being having a sort of committed relationship with the mission, but more so once he encountered boy X, he was really committed to that relationship.
Yeah. So just let me ask you a question real quick. In order to avoid spoilers, if somebody's watching me right now, that means that they already watched the film, right?
No. They haven't watched
Okay. They haven't. All right. Okay. No, that's good to know, though. That's good to know. So I won't spoil the ending of the film. I'm going to answer the question as good as I can without spoiling it. So two things. Yeah. So actually, the Arab boy, he's a kid. He's 12, and he's a local boy. And the way we shaped his character was quite simple. I tried to imagine being born in a country in war and not knowing any different that there's a war, and at the same time there are these other people. They have a different color skin. In this case, they're European, so they're white, and they are here saying that they're here to help you. But whenever they don't like you or they're afraid of you, they're going to point a gun at you and tell you to lie on the ground and whatever, and they're going to take whatever is yours if they need to for their safety. So I can imagine a boy like this at some point getting fed up. He's just fed up. He doesn't want their help. He just he's done with them. And I thought that was quite interesting, because I think in a lot of films, when we see people of color from a poor country, they're supposed to be thankful for the help they're getting, especially if it's help from the West. And somehow that's an interesting thing, because well, I mean, even if you bring it to a broader context, if you see like humanitarian help or whoever helps another one, and especially from Europe towards poorer countries, could be South America, where I come from, or it could be Africa, or it could be Asia. There's always this, like this, I'm going to help you, but I'm saving you, right? Like, you're going to be thankful to me. And in a way, that's what the young soldier Eric is expecting. He wants to connect with the boy. He gives him food and water, and he wants to be friends. But the young Arab boy, he's not up to it, because he's done with it. And I thought that's an interesting take to the relationship, and also it's quite startling. It's confusing for the Dutch soldiers.
Yeah.
It's very confusing. They're actually not able to cope with it because they're not expecting it, and that, I think, in a way, there's more truth in that in the romantic idea that when you go and help the poor people, they're going to go on their knees and say thank you and be so grateful and so on. And that was sort of our perspective whilst shaping his character. And then once you shape him that way, you throw his character into the context of the scenes, and then he's going to act in a more surprising way that you're expecting, because he has his own agenda. He has his own way of being in the situation. He's not there to please us. That's maybe the biggest thing. I think a lot of people watching the film, they want to, we want to have harmony, and we want to see them coming together and becoming friends, but he's not there to please you. He's not there to please the soldiers. He's not there to please the audience. And that makes the film, in my opinion, quite interesting to watch.
Sure. I really love that. You mentioned, coming to help, but coming with guns, So yeah, that's really interesting. And that savior complex really came through in the film. Talking about the challenges of making this epic film, what were the biggest challenges for you?
And then we're talking specifically about the shooting?
Yeah, the shooting of the film.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest challenges were quite simple: weather conditions. When you're shooting out in the open, very high, it's a very big mountain, very high. There's no way to predict the weather. It's really hard, and it can be either very hot or very cold. And a couple of times we had big windstorms that would blow everything away, and made it unsafe to shoot. I mean, we did try. We spent like half a day trying to shoot a scene in the wind, and then at some point we had to give up because stuff was flying through the set and through the shot. So absolutely, I mean, with this, every day that we made, I was so happy. I was like, okay, one more day we make it. So let's go to the next day. It was that was quite. I usually when you shoot in the city, there's more control because if it's a rainy day, you shoot inside. If it's a beautiful day, you shoot outside. But our set was open the whole time. I mean, so and also like very high in the mountain. So yeah, that I would say that was that was the most let me think. Yeah, absolutely. That was the most difficult thing. And there are certain scenes in the film that were quite challenging to make, and I'm not going to spoil them, but there are certain scenes in the film that emotionally are quite big. And obviously those took a lot of effort to make, and also for the whole crew and cast. Those were quite challenging to make. Yeah.
You speak about emotion. It was for me quite a journey and a roller coaster ride with regards to emotions. At some point, there was a lot of suspense, a lot of humor. What genre were you trying to follow, or is there a genre at all?
Yeah, I mean, it's so it's not a war film because it's not about the war. It's more about it's more like a suspenseful drama about soldiers, and war is like the setting. The setting is a good word. But we did try to use humor at the beginning of the film because actually humor is something very true to the military. They're young kids and they're just joking around the whole time. It's also a way to cope with the situation they are in. At some point, the film gets more thrilling, and obviously, at some point, there's not going to be more room for humor anymore. And that has to do with the plot and the things that happen. But yeah, we did try, and but we approach it as a suspenseful drama. So it has thriller elements, but the drama, and with drama I mean like the story of the characters, has sort of a central part in it.
Given that, what do you want our audiences here in South Africa to take away from this film?
Yeah, I mean that's always a difficult question to answer if people haven't seen the film, because then I'm gonna have to spoil it. I think the film does not need any explanation. I think if you go and see the film, you're gonna go through a roller coaster of emotions. I mean, you just said it yourself. It's quite gripping. It's not gonna be boring. It's gonna be quite gripping, and I might dare to promise that if you watch the film, at the end of the film, you're not going to be able to just stand up and go. You're probably going to sit down through the titles because you'll need some time to recover. Yeah, and when and maybe the day after you wake up and you're going to be thinking about it, like, wow, okay, what was that? So I think if that's something that you're after, like something gripping, this is something that the film might be able to promise.
Great way of putting it. So I read somewhere that you went through like great lengths, to go out to actually see the film and the audience watching it at Tribeca, if I'm not mistaken. So quick question. Are you going to go through the same hoops and loops to come to South Africa?
I wish we were not doing this online and we would be in the same room. Who knows? Yeah, who knows? Would be great though.
Yeah, just so some context for the viewers, the films will be available for screening at the Labia in Cape Town, as well as Ster-Kinekor at Rosebank, the Zone. Right, Sharif, any last words just for our audiences to encourage them to go out and support this film?
Yeah, I think just go and watch. I think it's a great way if you watch European films, movies of other countries. It's going to broaden your view. I'm sure you're going to learn new stuff. And most important though is like I think we made a film that also is going to, in a way, entertain you. It's not. You're up for a ride. Let's put it that way. And I'll leave it up to you if you watch the film or not. But if you go though, you're up for a ride.
Super. Thank you so much, Sharif, for your time. To all the viewers, just again, I want to reiterate that the films are available at Ster-Kinekor, The Zone, as well as the Labia in Cape Town. And also you have the option to stream the films online, and that's for free, by the way. So do go out and check out our website for more information and follow us on the socials so that you get all the information needed going forward. Join us between the 13th and the 23rd of October and enjoy the festivities. From me and Sharif, thank you so much for your time.
Absolutely. Thank you, man.
Cheers and goodbye.